This is everything for today's lecture. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, let me show you, a final example of for this Thursday. So this is the paper that I picked. Where is it? Let me make this bigger. Okay, so this is the paper called Feeling Green. It's about currency, right? Currency market. And it was published actually in July 26th, right? So this is from this week. And let me show you briefly. So that we have some text here. The idea is that you guys go over the text. Not you don't need to repeat the text, right? You need to just capture the main ideas here, write some bullets, and try to explain those ideas to the class. But we have more text, and here, there are some papers, some articles that have some figures. For example, in the article that I selected, we have this particular figure. And now the idea is going to be useful, right? Because you need to try to explain, what you guys wrote in your bullets with this figure. This figure needs to be helpful in order to prepare your presentation. So this is essentially the paper that I selected, and I did a small presentation for it. So this is the economist presentation example, Feeling Green, July 2026, 2025. And let me go briefly about the most important bullets that I selected, right? So the idea is that you guys choose, I don't know, 10 bullets, maybe 8, depending, right? Remember, you will have 5 minutes to present. And, in my particular example, this article is talking about the investor reaction under Trump's return. So since Trump's return, markets have become sensitive to major announcements. So basically, this paper is saying that all the economic actions that Trump has announced are having not important impact on the markets, right? Except, for example, a reaction in July 16 when Trump suggested to fire Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. This implied a shock in the markets, but in basically all the other cases, all these announcements of Trump have negatively. They have no impact in the movement of the markets, essentially, because markets are accustomed or are used to these threats against other countries or these threats against immigration policies. Markets have internalized all this information, so they don't react strongly to any news, right, about the Trump policies. Despite the political shocks, as we said, American stock market reached all-time highs the next day after this particular day, right? But there is a problem here because we have these policies of Trump trying to, for example, prevent trade among other countries, and these policies essentially, in traditional economics, what could imply is that the dollar should be appreciating. In that case, restriction on imports will appreciate the dollar. But what we are observing is that all these tariff policies of Trump are actually weaken the dollar. So we have this case that it is not explained by our traditional knowledge, because tariffs should be strengthening our dollar, but it is not happening, right? And the reason is that the reason, in order to explain, to sustain this idea that the dollar is weakened, this article is using this figure. So here in red, we have the U.S. trade weighted dollar. So here is our measure of how strong the dollar is, right? And here in gray, we have the spread between the US 10 government bond yield and those in advanced economies. So basically here we have the interest rate differential between advanced economies, right? So whenever this interest rate is higher, basically traditional economies, our traditional model actually says that when the interest rate goes up, there is an inflow of capital into our economy, and that will appreciate our exchange rate. And this is actually, in this case, for example, for 2024, any increase in this spread, right? Whenever this spread is higher, the strength of the dollar is higher. However, after 2025, at this point particularly, any increase in, and this is actually called the paper said it happens in the Liberation Day, I think, an increase, right, when an increase in the interest rate, right, spread. So here the U.S. economy is offering a higher interest rate, so we should expect to happen that more flows run into the economy, and that according to our model will increase the exchange rate. We are observing actually the opposite. So here we see that the dollar is weaker, and this idea is something that is happening after Liberation Day. This figure is helping us to understand, right, why is breaking these correlations. And this paper, this article says, let me return to this part. So in April, the article says that the interest rate differential effect breaks, so the dollar falls despite higher yields. So this is actually mirroring emerging market dynamics, right? These emerging market dynamics are essentially, in this case, since then, the traditional correlations have returned, but dollar remains weaker, and dollar no longer seems a safe haven. So, for example, the VAX rose while dollar fell post Liberation Day. So this is a measure of the uncertainty in the market, right? So investors are not seeing the U.S. economy or the U.S. dollar as a safe asset. And this is what is called the dollar fragility. This dollar fragility might be affected in the upcoming future because, for example, on August 1st, there is a tariff implementation, and this could again weaken the dollar. And this is resembling the idea that after this particular breaking point, the U.S. economy, it is like behaving not as expected, because an increase in the interest rate should lead to an appreciation of the dollar. So this is essentially what this paper is saying. You guys you can try to replicate these ideas with your own articles, and the type of questions that you guys might expect to happen in your presentation is, for example, how you might reconcile this theory, or is this the implication that our model was saying, for example? And the idea is that I'm going to try to connect this article with what we have to cover in class. So, for example, in order to sustain this idea, if we return to lecture 9, I think. Lecture 9, yeah, it was lecture 9. In lecture 9, yes, actually here, when we analyze the connection between interest rate and exchange rate, right? So our economy, the traditional case, right, will say that it is actually here. Where is it? Let me find the correct one. So here. Okay, so here's a perfect example. So according to our model, any increase, right, in the interest rate will eventually imply an appreciation, depreciation, right? Sorry, this is not the case that I'm looking for, because here we are seeing an example that we shouldn't be seeing, because this is the case of Mexico. This is actually the case for an emerging economy. But here, let me see, where is it? I think I have seen this example before. Okay, so here we are. For example, here, in this case, right, a traditional implication is that an increase in the interest rate eventually will cause that the exchange rate to appreciate, right? That's what we should expect to happen under the traditional circumstances, right, in our traditional model. But what the US economy is saying is that, this relationship, right, has breaking uh, once, the deliberation day happened. Now, an increase in the interest rate differential here is implying that the dollar is weaker. Now, this is not what it should be happening. So the idea is that, one question is, I'm going to try to connect your knowledge, right, your knowledge of our previous models with the particular paper that you selected, and that's I think that's essentially. I only gonna have one question per student, but that's the flavor that you might expect to happen, a connection with the model that we cover in class. Because as you remember, one requirement was that there should be a connection of the economics section, right? So and with macro. So every paper that you selected should have an implication with our models. And I'm gonna try to find that implication, and I'm gonna answer that you guys explain that connection to me. Okay, so do you guys have any questions about anything? Great. So I'm gonna grade today your problem sets. Perhaps I'm not gonna finish, but this is my main objective for today, my main task. I'm gonna at least finish the first problem set. So it should be posted by today. And also, you guys are always free to request grade revisions. However, you already have the answer, so perhaps you have some idea of what I was expecting or what the current answer was. And today is your final problem set today night. And remember, by Thursday, you guys will be presenting your article, and let me say that the order. So the order, I'm gonna select the order the following the order that the names that appear here. So this is the student presentation, sign up, and here we have some numbers. So I want to follow this order, right? So please be ready, please be on time, and we have all students here. I think I should have 16. So